Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another video on the channel, another story of the Blackwood twins. Watch the other videos to understand the beginning of this journey. 6 hours. That was all we had. 6 hours since the call. 6 hours since the voice on the other end said those words and hung up. 6 hours searching for our parents in every corner of Seattle we knew. Nothing. Elena drove the rental car through the rain-soaked streets while I went over everything in my head, trying to find a pattern, a clue, anything JB might have left behind. Victoria in Ashford, the Wraith in Richmond, and now this. Our parents missing, our home destroyed. Something was wrong, something I wasn't seeing. Elena broke the silence. She said we needed to go back home and examine the scene more carefully, that maybe there was something the police hadn't noticed. I agreed. We had no other options. We returned to our old Victorian house. The police had cordoned off the area, but had already left, leaving only the yellow tape marking the crime scene. We walked under it and went inside. The destruction was even worse up close. Overturned furniture, broken glass everywhere, claw marks on the walls, and blood, so much blood. But something caught my attention. The blood pattern was wrong. It wasn't spread like it should be in a fight. It was arranged, deliberately positioned. Elena noticed it too. She commented that it looked like a symbol. We moved the furniture, cleaned part of the glass, and saw. On the living room floor, drawn in blood, was a circle with symbols inside. Symbols that I recognized from our great-grandfather's books. A demonic summoning trap. I felt my stomach churn. This was not the work of a vengeful hunter. It wasn't a resentful cousin. He was a demon.
We spent the next hour photographing the symbols and researching in great-grandfather Jonathan's diary and our own digital archives, cross-referencing, translating archaic Latin, trying to understand what was happening. Elena was the first to put the puzzle together. She showed me a diary entry from 1959. Jonathan was writing about a case in Portland, Oregon. A particularly powerful and cruel demon had terrorized several families of hunters. The demon was called Malphus, one of the great presidents of hell, according to classical demonology. Jonathan and 3 other hunters had managed to capture Malphus, but they couldn't completely exorcise him. The demon was too strong, so Jonathan did the unthinkable. He offered his own son as a sacrifice. Jacob Blackwood, the youngest son of Jonathan, our great-uncle, a boy of only 17 years old. Jonathan forced his own son to become Malphus's host, then imprisoned him in a consecrated tomb. He sealed the demon within the boy's body. He condemned his own blood to eternal imprisonment to save other hunters. Elena murmured in horror. Our great-grandfather had sacrificed his own son. I kept reading, feeling nauseous. Jonathan wrote that it was the hardest thing he had ever done, that Jacob begged, cried, pleaded not to do it. But there was no other way. Malphus needed to be contained, and the price was Blackwood blood. It was always Blackwood blood. And now, 65 years later, Malphus had escaped. Somehow, the seal had been broken. Elena asked how. The answer came in the last pages of the diary. An entry Jonathan made days before he died in 1963. He wrote that the seal he created was not permanent, that over time it would weaken, that eventually, when his last direct descendant died, the seal would break completely.
Jonathan had died decades ago, but his direct descendants continued. Our grandfather, our father, our generation, until now. Malphus had waited, planned, and when he realized that Jonathan's direct lineage was weakening, that many Blackwoods had died of natural causes or on hunts, he began to accelerate the process. Victoria, the Wraith, it had all been orchestrated by Malphus, killing Blackwood for Blackwood's sake, weakening the seal until he finally managed to break free. But why our parents? Why now? The answer came when my cell phone rang. It was Margaret Blackwood from Richmond. Her voice sounded desperate. She said her house had been broken into an hour ago, that she had barely escaped, that she saw the creature. It wasn't a shadow like the Wraith. It was something worse. Black eyes, smoking sulfur, a real demon. I asked if she was okay, if she was safe. She said yes, that she was in a motel on the other side of town, but that it wasn't about her. It was about what the demon said before attacking. He said he was going to kill all the remaining Blackwoods, the entire bloodline, erase the family from existence, and that he would start with the elders, those who had imprisoned him. Margaret dissed the names: Thomas Blackwood, Sarah Chen Blackwood, Robert Blackwood of Chicago, David Blackwood of Boston, Catherine Blackwood of Miami. Our parents, our uncles, our distant cousins, all the living Blackwoods of the generation that descended directly from Jonathan. Elena grabbed my arm. She asked where they were, where Malthus had taken them. Margaret said she didn't know, but that the demon had mentioned a place where it all began, where the Blackwood family had committed their greatest sin. I felt my blood run cold. I knew exactly where it was.
Cedar Hills Cemetery on the outskirts of Portland, the place where Jonathan Blackwood imprisoned Jacob and Malthus in 1959. We drove through the torrential rain that was falling on Seattle until we crossed the border into Oregon. 2 hours on the road in tense silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. Elena finally spoke. She asked if we were going to be able to defeat a demon like Malthus, a great president of hell. Our great-grandfather had needed 3 other experienced hunters just to capture him, and even then they couldn't exorcise him. How could 2 20-year-old hunters accomplish what 4 veterans couldn't? There was no answer, but it didn't matter. We had to try. We arrived in Cedar Hills as the sun was beginning to rise. The cemetery was old, mostly abandoned, with broken tombstones and vegetation taking over. In the center of the cemetery, there was a mausoleum, the tomb of the Blackwood family. The door was open. We entered cautiously, weapons in hand. I had the rifle loaded with salt and iron bullets. Elena carried vials of holy water and an exorcism book that our father had given us years ago. The interior of the mausoleum was a large stone chamber, and in the center, chained to pillars, were they, our parents, Thomas and Sarah, and along with them, 3 other people I recognized from family photos: Robert, David, and Catherine, all the living Blackwoods in the direct line, all unconscious, all bleeding from ritual cuts on their arms. Elena ran forward, but I held her back. There was a circle drawn on the ground around them, demonic symbols. It was a trap. And then he appeared. From the shadows at the back of the mausoleum, a figure emerged. It looked like a young man, about 25 years old, even handsome, but his eyes were completely black, deep black, without white, without iris, just empty. Malthus. He smiled. He said we'd arrived just in time for the grand finale. I pointed the shotgun at him. I ordered him to release our family. Malthus laughed. He said we didn't understand, that it wasn't just about revenge, it was about power.
He began to explain. He recounted that in 1959, Jonathan and the other hunters had been unable to exorcise him. So Jonathan made a choice. He sacrificed his own 17-year-old son, Jacob. He forced the boy to become a host and imprisoned him alive in a tomb. For 65 years, Malthus and Jacob shared that body, that prison, the demon torturing the boy day after day, year after year, decades of endless agony, until the seal finally weakened, until Malthus managed to break the chains. And the first thing he did was kill what was left of Jacob Blackwood. Malthus said he used Jacob's body to escape the tomb. He used his identity, JB, to play with us, to make us suffer like Jacob suffered. And now he was going to finish what he started. He was going to kill all the Blackwoods. He was going to erase the bloodline that had imprisoned him. Elena shouted that we would never let her. Malthus smiled again. He said we had no choice. Either he took the souls of the 5 chained Blackwoods, or he took everyone's souls, including ours. We had 5 minutes to decide. After that, he was going to start the ritual anyway. Elena looked at me with tears in her eyes. She whispered that we couldn't let our parents die. I knew, but I also knew that we couldn't negotiate with demons. It never ended well. I looked around the mausoleum, searching for a way out, a solution, anything. And then I saw. On the ceiling, engraved in the stone, was a symbol I recognized, a symbol of imprisonment, the same one Jonathan had used in 1959. The entire tomb was a demonic trap. Jonathan had built it specifically for that purpose. If we could activate the symbol again, we could capture Malthus. But to activate it, we needed the blood of a Blackwood. Blood given voluntarily. And there had to be a lot of blood. I looked at Elena. She understood immediately. Malthus noticed it too. He started laughing, saying that we wouldn't have the courage, that we were too young, too attached to life. But he didn't know us. He didn't know what our parents had taught us. We hunt those who hunt us and protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if it costs everything. I drew my silver knife. Elena did the same. Malthus stopped laughing. He realized what we were going to do. He tried to attack us, but Elena threw holy water on him. The demon recoiled, screaming in pain. I ran to the center of the circle, breaking the line of salt that protected it. The symbols flickered, fading. I cut my palm deeply. Blood gushed out, falling onto the stone floor. Elena did the same on the other side of the mausoleum.
Our blood began to flow through the grooves carved into the stone, filling in the ancient symbols, reactivating the trap that Jonathan had created decades ago. Malthus screamed, trying to escape, but the walls began to glow with golden light. Symbols of restraint lit up all over the mausoleum. The demon was forced back to the center, trapped inside the circle he himself had drawn. But it wasn't enough. To seal it completely, we needed to finish the ritual. And for that, we needed more blood. Much more. Elena looked at me. She said she loved me, that it had been an honor to be my sister. I answered the same thing, and then we cut deeper. I felt my vision begin to darken as the blood flowed. Elena staggered, pale, but continued. The symbols shone ever brighter. Malthus screamed, his form beginning to disintegrate, being pulled back into the void, into the hell from whence he came. He yelled that he would return, that he always returned, that the curse on the Blackwoods would never end. But Elena, with the last of her strength, opened the book of exorcism and began to recite. His voice was weak but firm. Each word in Latin echoed through the mausoleum, adding power to the ritual. I joined her, reciting along, even though my voice was faltering. Malthus began to burn, black fire consuming his form from the inside out. And then, with a final cry of fury and agony, he exploded into ashes. Silence filled the mausoleum. The symbols stopped shining, and we fell.
I woke up some time later. My head was throbbing. My arm was bandaged, but it still hurt like hell. Elena was beside me, pale but alive. She had woken up first and bandaged us both with strips of cloth from her own clothing. Our parents were free from their chains, but still unconscious. The other Blackwoods were too. We waited. We waited for them to wake up. We waited to be sure it was over. After 2 hours, our father finally opened his eyes. He saw us, saw the state we were in, and understood what had happened. He didn't say anything, he just hugged us. Our mother woke up next, then the others. When everyone finally regained consciousness, our father explained what had happened, how Malthus had ambushed them one by one, brought them here, how the demon had planned to use them as a sacrifice to break the seal Jonathan had created and free himself completely. But we had stopped it. We had reactivated the seal. We had sent Malthus back to hell, at least for now.
A week later, there was no family gathering, because he no longer had any family. Our parents had died 3 days after the confrontation. The wounds Malthus had inflicted on them before we arrived were too deep, poisoned with something no doctor could identify, something supernatural, something that consumed them from the inside out. We held their hands as they died. Our mother went first. She said she was proud of us, that we had been brave, that we had saved the world of Malthus. Our father passed away 6 hours later. His last words were a request that we continue the legacy, that we protect people, that we never let evil win. Robert, David, and Catherine didn't last even longer. They died before even leaving the mausoleum, the demonic poison acting too quickly. Margaret in Richmond called 2 days later to say she had died in her sleep. Sudden cardiac arrest, the doctors said. But we knew the truth. Malthus had left a parting gift, a final curse. Within a week, all the Blackwoods were dead, except for us. We held the funerals alone, Elena and I, 2 20-year-old orphans burying the whole family. There was no speech, there were no tears. We had already cried all we could cry. There was only silence and the rain falling on Portland. After the last funeral, our father had left an envelope for us. Inside were the keys to the Victorian house, Jonathan's diary, and a letter. The letter was short. It said that if we were reading this, it meant he was dead, that the Blackwood curse had exacted its final price. It said that we were strong, stronger than any generation before, that we would be able to carry on the legacy alone. And he said one last thing: forgiveness. I'm sorry for placing this burden on us. I'm sorry for raising us for this life. I'm sorry for not being able to protect us from the destiny that all the Blackwoods carried. Elena tore up the letter. She said she didn't need his forgiveness, that we had chosen this, that this was who we were. I kept the pieces anyway.
2 days later, we were back on the road. The red Mustang purred as we left Portland behind, the city where we grew up, the city where our family had lived for generations, the city where it had all ended. There was no going back. There was nothing left to go back to. The Victorian house was empty now. We had locked the doors and covered the furniture with white sheets. Maybe one day we would return, maybe not, because we had seen too much, lost too much, changed too much. Elena drove in silence. I looked out the window, watching the scenery go by. In the back seat, our backpacks were there, full of coarse salt, holy water, silver knives, symbols of protection, the tools of the trade, the only things that remained of our heritage. In the glove compartment, Jonathan's diary, that damned diary that documented decades of suffering, sacrifice, and impossible choices, the diary that was now ours to continue. Elena finally spoke. She asked where we were going. There was no answer. There was no more family to visit. There was no home to return to. There was nothing left but the road and the next case. He said we'd go wherever we needed to, wherever there were people needing help, wherever there were monsters to hunt, because that was all we knew how to do at the time. It was all we had. Elena nodded. She said nothing more. We drove in silence for hours, crossing the Oregon border, entering Washington, then Idaho. Just the road, the rumble of the engine, and our thoughts. It was almost midnight when my phone beeped. Unknown number. I felt my body tense. Memories of JB, of Malthus, of everything that had happened. But I opened it anyway. It was a simple text message. Vampire activity in Boise. 3 dead. Police have no leads. Can you help?
Vampires. Something we knew how to deal with. Something normal, within reason. I showed the message to Elena. She looked, then looked at the road ahead. He asked if I was ready. I looked at my sister, the only family I had left,
the only person in the world who understood what we had been through, what we had lost, the only person who mattered now. I replied yes, I would always be ready, because that's what we used to do. We, the last Blackwoods, hunt those who hunt us and protect those who cannot protect themselves, until the end. It no longer mattered how many monsters came. It no longer mattered how many battles we had to fight. We were going to continue, because it was all we had left. That was all we knew how to be. 3 months later, the red Mustang was parked in front of a seedy motel somewhere in Nevada. Another town, another case, another creature to hunt. I was sitting on the bed cleaning my shotgun when Alana came in with coffee. We hadn't talked much lately. There was no need. After everything that had happened, words seemed unnecessary. She sat down next to me, drinking her coffee in silence. After a long moment, she asked if she thought it would get easier. The pain, the loss, the weight of being the last ones.
I looked at her face, which was identical to mine, at her eyes, which had seen the same horrible things as I had. I told the truth. No, it wasn't going to get any easier. The pain would continue. The loss would always hurt. The burden would only increase with each new case, each new creature, each new person we couldn't save. But we were going to continue anyway, because that's what the Blackwoods did. We endured, we survived, we fought. Elena nodded. She knew it was true. She finished her coffee, stood up, and grabbed the keys to the Mustang. He asked if I was ready to go. I grabbed my jacket, my weapons, Jonathan's diary. I said yes. We left the motel, got in the car, and went back on the road. I didn't know what was coming next. I didn't know what creatures we were going to face. I didn't know if I would survive the next case, or the next one, or any after that. But I knew one thing. We weren't fighting for the family anymore. We weren't carrying on the legacy of past generations anymore. We were fighting because it was the right thing to do, because there were people out there who needed help, because the world was full of darkness and someone had to do something. And if it wasn't us, who would it be? Elena turned on the radio. An old song played, something our father used to listen to. We drove through the night, 2 orphans against a world of monsters, carrying the weight of a lost family, following a road that had no end. Everything had changed. We had moved, and it was never going to be the same again.
If you enjoyed this story, follow the channel and leave a like so you don't miss the twins' next hunts. If you enjoyed this story, follow the channel and leave a like so you don't miss the twins' next hunts.